Feel it coming in the air. Hear the screams from everywhere. It's the Triple Threat Podcast coming straight into your ear. Can't be scared when it goes down. Got a problem? Tell me now. The only thing that's on my mind is who podcasting here tonight. And we're back. Everybody, that was my own song that I wrote by myself in my basement. Guys, thoughts?
Love it.
I think if Sam Smith needs to pay royalties to Tom Petty, then I think maybe you owe Mr. Zed some money, or Mr. Z,
Mr. JZ,
as they would say in the States.
Mr. JZ,
JZ.
Mr. West, and Mr. Rihanna.
Mr. Rihanna. Well, that's I think I missed that news.
Mr.
Oh, you didn't hear
Rihanna.
about that? No, was that? Okay.
Sounds like a
I get Rihanna and Bruce Jenner confused.
kind of sounds like a James Bond villain.
Rihanna?
Yeah,
Sounds like a James Bond villain.
Mr. Rihanna
James Bond villain. Oh.
or Mr.
I don't really know what
Okay, I
what the
can see
naming
that.
convention is for
Rihanna.
James Bond villains.
It depends. Generally, they
Says it
sound foreign.
badass.
Stromberg,
Yeah,
Blofeld.
yeah.
Yeah.
Largo.
Javier Bardem. Largo, yeah,
That's
could
the
be nice call. Largo
That's the
and
actor's
Stromberg, pretty much the same person.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So this week on the Triple Threat
job.
Podcast,
Celebratory.
odd ode to job. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of celebration in the air.
little celebration for doing your job and finishing your job and winning Super Bowl.
Come on.
Yeah, New England Patriots.
It's a celebration.
Oh, okay. All right.
So the team that Alex and I cheer for, the New England Patriots, somehow, maybe not somehow, because it's pretty clear how they did it. They won last week's Super Bowl.
They
Super
did
Bowl
win.
Super Bowl XLIX.
XLIX,
Also known as Super Bowl
49, Super
Fort-
Bowl
49.
the best Super Bowl
45.
there's ever been.
Best Super
Conjugate, conjugal, visit. Sorry, no. Jack Black and Community,
right.
Season 1, Episode 11, after the Christmas episode. No? All right, well, that's fine.
All right.
Wow.
So,
that was
Alex.
very specific.
Yes.
Anyway.
So, Alex, take us through your experience of the Super. There was a good article this week written by Bill Simmons talking about how his reaction in the last few minutes of that Super Bowl game.
Yes.
I forget exactly how he phrased it, but you can find that on Grantland, I'm sure. Grantland, who apparently we owe a lot of royalties to just by mentioning the number of articles and things like that, and the shout outs to Bill Barnwell that were filling.
Why do we owe them
Bowl,
money for that? They owe us. We're directing gobs of traffic.
Well-
gobs.
Okay, I think
The referral
that's
rate.
a better point. So, Alex,
Yeah.
what was your experience this Super Bowl?
Well, we were there together. First off, there was no chicken wings to start the second half, but that's fine. Secondly,
Oh boy.
yeah, I was nervous right off the bat because the Patriots lost the coin toss, and then they had to accept the kick. They didn't get to defer. We all thought the game was over before it started, but luckily the players don't have that same mentality. So the game was a really good game. I mean, it was never really too far out of hand for either team. Seattle started really slow, and the Patriots started better, but through a timely pick and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. It was, as I've said before, like going through it, it's just you run the whole gamut of emotions. Like we're all sitting there. It is the fourth quarter, and the Patriots are down 10 points with 12 minutes left to play, and Tom Brady gets sacked for an 8-yard loss on the first down. So you're just like, oh my goodness, we need something to go right now. And luckily it did. So after Super Bowl 42 and 46, you get a little nervous in terms of what the football gods have in store for you, but the Pats came through with a number of good plays, and I was jubilant. jubilant / relieved / overjoyed / everything. It was amazing, and it took a couple days to sink in. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, I think it was Tuesday. I was just like, "Wow, no, they won that game. That's amazing." Yeah,
yeah, remarkable that it happened. I mean,
thoughts?
it's one of those things. I remember talking about it. Yes, during the game, I was like, "Oh, like people watch sports to enjoy themselves, but this is not enjoyable. This is not entertainment. I am nervous. This is not fun."
Right,
and yet it ended
it's
up
like when
being
you don't have a rooting
lot of
interest
fun.
in. Yeah, when you don't have a rooting interest in the game, you just want a good game, a tight game. And when you have a rooting interest, you're like, man, I hope the Patriots win the 63-2. So it's just like a party the whole time.
Yeah, because people were like, well, I want it to be close so that I can actually enjoy watching the game. I was like, the further away this is in the Patriots' favor is the more I actually enjoy this game. I can sit back, relax, and all cool.
Mm-hmm. Soak in the moment.
Watch some F-ball outside of the school. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Will,
So
what was your perception of the game from the outside looking in?
It was it was a heck of a lot more entertaining than last year. I had, I mean, the Patriots aren't my team. I am a Ravens fan, but I was on your guys' side, if not for at least quieting the Seahawks bandwagon. I thought it was a great game. I thought after that circus catch that we'd have a repeat of 42 and 46. I'm like, wow, another circus catch. Sinks the Patriots Super Bowl chances.
Curse.
The curse, and we were
horrible.
And we were wrong, due to whatever you want to say. If it's a bad play call on the 1 yard line. I mean, I did read an article, this big long stats article that I posted to my Facebook about how basically running the ball would have been like a 0.3% higher. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, but whatever. Stats don't take into account who you're giving the ball to, really. I mean, if it's Marshawn Lynch, that's one thing. So
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
I have a question about that. I haven't seen, and I'm just wondering about this. How come there hasn't been more blame put on Russell Wilson? Not for the play call, but for throwing an interception.
Because the interception was more about Malcolm making a good play.
I'm not sure.
There's been lots of angles. There's been lots of angles where you look, and when he releases the ball, Ricardo Lockett could not be more open. Like, the play is unfolding exactly how he thought, and Butler just ended up undercutting the route kind of out of nowhere.
But how can it really be out of nowhere if you're a professional quarterback? Do you know what I mean? Like you have to see that there's like some movement there. You have to see that, like, yeah, I could throw it there and it'll get there in half a second, but Malcolm Butler can also get there in 0.4 of a second. I don't know. It just seems like everyone's grabbing on Pete Carroll and whatever the name, Darrell Bevel or whatever the name of the Seahawks offensive coordinator is. But at the end of the day, you have to take a little bit of responsibility as a quarterback for throwing a pick.
Right.
Yeah,
I can
and
understand
I think
that. I just think
points
that
to, if you want to point to
more
anything,
about
that's probably
the defensive effort than the offensive mistake. Go ahead.
And if you want to blame anything from Russell, blame his, he's third or fourth season, so he's still new, and he has to have a humbling experience like that. I mean, you can't just, win. I don't think you can just win 2 Super Bowls in a row and just be like, oh yes, it's just that easy. I'm just that good. I think he needs that to kind of, not that he needs to come down to earth because he's already a pretty humbling guy, but I think the team needs that to come down to earth. And of course, I mean, I could have predicted what Pete Carroll was going to say after the game, but of course he's like, well, this is going to make us better and stronger in the long run and blah, blah, blah. I was like, of course you'd say that, Pete Carroll, Mr. Optimism, and that's fine. I kind of see his point. And in my opinion, the Seahawks bandwagon can be whatever it wants to be now, because all those fans know who jumped on the bandwagon aren't just going to be like, wow, these guys just win a Super Bowl every year, huh? This is easy. It's not that easy. You sometimes you lose, and that's welcome to sports. That's how it happens. And I was pretty hard on the bandwagon after the game, and I've since calmed down a little bit. Not that the bandwagon has done anything
and the thing
to
is
me
too, in
personally,
terms of
it's just when I walk around town and and see all new Seahawks stuff, then I'm just like, all right, you guys are. I only had one person.
It's
just
a Vancouver
one friend of
problem,
mine.
too.
We're an old one. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, it is their local team, but I've been here a couple of years, and I can tell you with 100% certainty that people only cared about the Seahawks in the last year or two. Other than that, people couldn't care less.
Yeah, there's not a lot of
They could care less.
not a lot of Hasselback or Sean Alexander jerseys.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, well, I see one Sean Alexander jersey, but these people are just like, yeah, 12th man. Like, oh god. Ironically, they're beaten by a guy who wore number 12. So there you go.
They just refer to themselves as 12s. I've heard the radio calls and stuff like that, and like, oh, the 12s are blah. And you're like, oh my god, it's just a noun now of how we describe the people of the fan base is just the 12s. And they're not the first team to have that too. Like other teams had that in previous, incarnations or
no, they're not
incarnations. That's not the right word. But it's not completely original on the Seahawks side. If you ask me, not if you ask me, it just isn't. I think the Chiefs used to have that, and someone else used to have that as well. But
in the CFL, the Rough Riders do 11th man. It's just not a very original thing. And I think that's fair to say.
Isn't it the 13th
who's the 13th
man? Do
man?
they have
That's
more
what I
players
wanna
on the field?
Sorry, 13. Yeah, everybody
Which is
else
ironic for them because that's what lost them a Grey Cup a couple.
no,
years
but I
ago.
say that because of that Grey Cup
the 13th
play.
man.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
But-
as much fun. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, that was fun. People enjoy that. That was a moment for everybody to collect your thoughts out there. So
Yeah, well,
yeah. I mean, you guys,
we're dealing with slight technical
won the
difficulties in
game.
terms of sound.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
which is
Which
too
guy
bad
do you
considering
get-
that's
you
all a
pay for?
podcast is.
And how quick it's getting to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. More thoughts on the game. I really couldn't see Tom playing in 6 Super Bowls and losing half of them. I just couldn't see that happening, and I couldn't see the Brady Belichick connection losing 3 Super Bowls in a row. I just couldn't see it. I really did have a feeling that something would happen and they would win, and they did win on a defensive play, but they were down by 10 and ended up winning by 4, and they're down by 10 it was in the fourth quarter, right? They made up that. So
Yeah, 12 minutes left.
yeah, so
You gotta look at how big that is in terms
I think
of
it was a game about unsung.
what Seattle needed.
Yeah, what do they need?
Yeah,
Well, in terms of like the Patriots scoring 4 touchdowns and then Seattle on the last drive, they're down 4. They need a touchdown. They can't just crawl their way down, kick a field goal for the win or anything like that. So holding them to a field goal in the first drive of the second half, and then also making all their scoring on all the red zone possessions and everything like that. Touchdowns have made a huge difference in terms of what Seattle needed. They needed a touchdown to win that game. Nothing else would do it. So that's helpful as well in terms of game planning and everything like that. You know what they have to do.
Now, here's a question. There was some discussion this week about a decision made in that game that was not made by Pete Carroll, but one that was made by Bill Belichick, that in the middle of the game, in the midst of it all, I remember, Alex, your reaction to Bill Belichick not calling a timeout as time was winding down in the fourth quarter there with less than a minute to go. And we couldn't really figure out why he wouldn't call a timeout, considering that's what would possibly preserve some time for us to come back down the field if we needed to and get a tying field goal. So why, I don't know if you guys have read anything this week or if you have any ideas, but why do you think Bill Belichick did not call a timeout with that little time left? What made him think that it was a good decision to hold on to that?
Alex, let you take this one.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say we got to figure out who's taking what. In terms of what I think he was thinking, because I've read enough where I don't still fully understand where he's coming from in terms of strategy. What you did see is Seattle have three timeouts after the 2-minute warning, burn one right after, just on a play clock, not even with the clock running, and then burn one again after the curse catch before anyone could get downfield. So they weren't totally organized on the offensive end. I think he felt more in control of what the defense was doing in terms of that, and he also doesn't want to take a timeout so Seattle can organize rather than stop the clock for New England's purposes. And, I mean, it works out in his favor. And the whole reason Seattle threw on second down is because they had that one timeout left. If they run there, they have to burn the timeout. Then everyone knows they're throwing on third down and do whatever on fourth down. But taking the throw gives them a stop clock or a touchdown, if that's what you're thinking, right? Often in completion, you're not thinking you're going to throw an interception. And then you still have your timeout for third and fourth. So if you run on third and get stuffed, you still have a timeout. So you can use your downs better there. And I just think Belichick said he liked his front, and I think they were just the more organized team in that state of the game. And he felt that that would do it there. You're just kind of they're probably thinking you're going to use it, and not using it is throwing them off of what they think they have time to do. In my opinion, that might be, it's all pure conjecture. But Will, what do you think?
Basically, I can't follow that up any better than just, again, I thought going into the game that it would come down to coaching. It would come down to who's the better coach. And I think Bill Belichick's a better coach than Pete Carroll is. I mean, Pete Carroll's got a heck of a football team. They're not to use an overused term, but they are beasts in Seattle. Like, they're still a heck of a team. They got a heck of a defense too, and and Tom kind of carves them up for 4 touchdowns and 313 passing yards, something like that. Which the EA Madden predictor
and 37 completions
came eerily close. Yeah, it came eerily close to that number. So, no, all I'll say is I thought it would come down to coaching. So Belichick is a smart dude. And no disrespect to Pete Carroll, but I think Belichick has that, in a game of inches, he's got that, extra couple inches on him, extra couple inches of brain, which really has to give you a headache quite often. Yeah. But yeah, what else was I going to say? Oh, yes, Matt, I was going to say it was.
Sorry.
I think you saying that him not calling it when Seattle thought that was probably going to be. He was probably going to call it. That kind of adds a wrinkle to it I didn't really consider. Because if you're like, oh, he's going to call it, and you're like, oh, wait, we're losing time. We actually had to get a playoff. That's pretty smart. I think he said he liked what he saw on the field in terms of goal line with 3 wide receivers there. I think that pretty much it was clear that they were going to throw it. And if he liked what he had there with the rookie undrafted cornerback and Butler, I guess that's fine. Like, it's one of those decisions that he's always going to look smart for making it, even though in the moment maybe it seemed a little bit suspect. It's just like when he called
he can say whatever in
overtime,
hindsight.
he picked the win instead of possession. Yeah. Exactly. And because Welker biffed the ball off his stupid helmet, he looks like a genius for it. And maybe he is. Maybe he just operates on a different wavelength than everybody else. The last time he made a decision that backfired like that was, against the Colts? 5 or 6 or 8, 10 years ago? Exactly. That was ages ago. And would he make the decision now? Probably not.
Probably not. So I'll just say this in terms of going the opposite way, which is same with Pete Carroll. You always dance with what brung you. It's what allowed them to go with 31 seconds left in the first half and go down and score a touchdown when other guys are taking a knee or just maybe trying to run it here and there and just kind of taking what you're given. And so when you have that kind of confidence and bravado, it goes both ways. It pays off in big ways like that there, or the fake field goal against Green Bay and the, how that all worked out, the kind of the long bomb that beat it in overtime. So, I mean, you're playing with fire in some ways and it works out sometimes, and obviously other times it doesn't. It's never going to work out 100% of the time, but they are that kind of risk-taking team who's going to take shots, and because it works more often than it doesn't, 2 Super Bowl appearances kind of speak to that you're going to do it again, even in the crunch time, because you're not going to change your behaviors in that moment. It's just who you are.
Right.
I agree. Yeah. And I was going to get to Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Let's get to yours after there, Will. Yeah. One thing, and this is maybe a little bit further removed from the Super Bowl, but now the question is, I've seen a couple times pop up, what do we do with Vince Wilfork? He's got a big cap hit. He's getting older. He's played very well for us, and I'm so glad he came back this year. But people are saying, well, I mean, maybe we go to the draft, we find somebody else, and we save ourselves $8 million.
Yeah, it's tricky, Alex. What do you think?
So you're asking what I think about that? I would say...
Yeah, I was saying it in a provocative way.
Okay. I don't know, it's the same thing that happened last year. Like, he almost left during renegotiations. I just want to see him stay. He wants to stay. I say give him another year or two. He's very solid if he stays healthy. Like, there's no signs of slowing down, and you can still go to the draft. But I think they're doing okay for cap space. Like, Edelman's a low hit. Hemdall was an okay hit. I think Hernandez will finally be off the books entirely. And I think the way Brady's contract is structured, it should all work out. But I'm all for sticking with him. But I did have the thought earlier this week, like on Monday, I was like, oh, poor Logan Mankins getting traded at the beginning of the season to the Buccaneers, and then you see your team win. That can't ever be easy.
That's almost worse than losing the Super Bowl.
That's rough.
Like,
so
you
go
to
your
live in
point,
Tampa
Will.
Bay, Florida. That's not so bad. It was my point was just it was a Super Bowl where some I don't even want to call them unsung heroes. I mean, they're just players you never heard of. I mean, nobody heard of this. Didn't Chris Matthews on the Seahawks make his first start and catch in that game, or am I mistaken? I just know that nobody really had heard of the guy before the Super Bowl.
You were correct.
And same with with Malcolm Butler too. I mean, that was like his, if I'm correct, his first kind of big play. I mean, it's the biggest play you can possibly make, an interception to win your team the Super Bowl. But I thought on two teams with a lot of Pro Bowlers, that it's good. You know, I think championship teams have that kind of depth where the guy you never heard of steps up and wins you the game, or makes the catch, or runs the play or whatever. So that was an interesting aspect to me, and that's what made it entertaining, and that's what I don't know. I think it's what makes football a great sport. I mean, you got all these guys on the field. Someone's going to step up and do something, and usually it's the superstars. But occasionally you have a guy who breaks out and, kind of shows that he's going to be the next guy. So, it's all good. I guess it's like, maybe we shouldn't bring it up. No, it's like David Tyree in Super Bowl 42. No one really heard of the guy, and then he makes it is. Makes a big play to change the fortunes of his team. Yeah. So that is my thoughts on it. And I also like... changing gears a little bit. I also like in the Katy Perry halftime show that she's got a giant lion that she walks on or whatever. It's the tiger or something. It looks this big Cirque du Soleil type thing. And the only thing anybody can talk about afterwards is that a guy in a shark costume forgot his choreography. I think
it's amazing.
That's a little unfair to the lion designers.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was really funny. That was really funny,
I
didn't even notice it at
things
the time.
That blow
though.
up.
Yeah,
no,
that blew up huge.
Yeah.
That
was
one
very.
went
Her
big.
initial entrance was very Hunger Games.
Yes, it was. Especially appropriate. We all made that comment at my place when Lenny Kravitz was there. We're like, oh, he designed her outfit. Actually, no, we made that joke.
It was dumb. Lenny Kravitz was there.
Why the hell was
he? He didn't do
there?
much, but I was really stoked on Missy Elliott. No, he did.
We all were. To the point where I actually forgot she existed. I think was what a lot of people
Oh, Missy. Well, a lot of kids apparently don't know who she is. But she'll make them know. Yeah, it's fair. I guess you're right.
Like Paul McCartney with Kanye West and Rihanna.
Yeah, but Paul's significantly
there's
older.
Be young people who don't know anything.
Yeah, you're right.
I know, it's still funny, like from an adult perspective. People don't know who this is.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember people on Twitter being like, somebody found tweets where people were like, "Oh my gosh, the Titanic was a real thing that happened. I thought it was just a movie."
Oh yeah. So
There's always gonna be dumb people.
Really? That's
Someday they're gonna wonder if Tom Brady was real.
yeah. What do you guys? Well, here are two questions I have. The first one is: I know the Seahawks the day before the Super Bowl offered Marshawn Lynch like an extension, like $10 million or something like that for a year, or maybe I'm completely wrong about that. So they offer him an extension right before the game, and he's kind of like, "Yeah, we'll see." And then they don't use him on the final play that could have won them the second Super Bowl. And his comment, I think, was, "Well, football is like a team sport." What do you think they're going to? What do you think he's going to do, and what do you think they're going to do with him? I mean, obviously they want him. Do you think he's going to stay in Seattle?
Marshawn walks.
Yeah, or runs. He's a running back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he walks, and then someone tries to tackle him, and then he gets like 6 more yards somehow.
He drags him 6 yards.
I think he's going to test the market. Yeah, we're going to see who gets them next year. I don't know who has cap space or who people would be thinking for that. But, I feel like he's probably done in Seattle for this year. Kind of a sad way to go out, considering it's like, oh, yeah, you lost Super Bowl, now you're gone. It's like double painful.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could mean better things for him. And Pete Carroll, if he loses him, would be like, he's a great player, but, it'll make our team stronger or make our guys better for it. And he's always got the positive spin on things. So that's Marshawn. And then Tom, obviously Tom's not even thinking about retirement, and he's definitely showing no signs of slowing down. But how many years do you think we'll get out of Tom now? Like, what would be the high end? Like, what, 5 or 6? Low end being 2 to 3?
Matt?
I think at least 3.
Well, I said Matt. Yeah, Matt and I read an article in the New York Times, which is super long, called "Tom Brady Can't Stop," and it's just all about not only his drive but also his methodology of how specific his training and diet and recuperation are, like planned out months in advance. With this one guy, Alex Guerrero, who he's a big fan of. So in terms of what he perceives he can do, that's kind of more important than anything. They always say, the moment you think about retiring, you've already retired, whether you know it or not. And I think his mentality is, I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can. And he's going to be a guy, and his dad said it the same way. He's like, it's going to end badly because he's not going to stop. And the Pats are going to have to get rid of him at some point when it doesn't go. I'd say he has, in terms of solid starting seasons where the Patriots are contending, I'll say at least 3, which has him at 40-41 when that goes. Because he's going to be 38 when next season starts. Matt?
And by the end of that, I mean, him and Belichick will have
I'm with you
every record for like coaches and quarterbacks, right? Like they'll pretty much have every record for quarterback coach wins. They just about have it now, don't they? I think. I saw the graphic. I don't know.
Yeah.
They have a lot of different records. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but I like the idea of the Patriots being a team with an old guy quarterback. I enjoy that. He's old, he's good, he's the anti-Favre.
Little salt and pepper in his beard.
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Yeah, the anti-Favre.
Not going to make him look worse, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to make that guy look bad. He's a good-looking kid. But above that, he wins football games, and that's all that matters. So, once again, congrats to those guys. I'm sure you guys have all your Super Bowl 49 caps and T-shirts on order. Your patches for your for your jerseys, if you want a patch.
It's just because it had been, I mean, when you're in a dynasty, people hate you. I think this Super Bowl might have had 2 of the more, I wouldn't say hated teams, but like outside the fan base, generally not cared for. Unless you're a Pats fan, you don't like the Pats. And unless you're a Seahawks fan, you really don't like the Seahawks. Whereas, I don't think the Packers have that same kind of hatred or other teams like that. And then I completely lost my train of thought there. Oh, man. Where was I going with that? Oh, just in terms of the enjoyment of being able to go through the offseason knowing your team won and having, 3 early on in Brady's career and then going 10 years without it. You're like, man, is it ever coming back? and compete and getting so close with AFC championships or, divisional losses and things like that, or Super Bowl losses. So to actually get one and be able to kind of just relax a bit and just enjoy it for this long is good. And I'm saying it as if I'm on the team, which I'm not, but it's still like, doesn't affect my mood as much anymore. So it's good to kind of be able to gloat and bask in it for a bit.
Hey man, that's how I felt 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the win in the game, but it's also like, we get to just be champions for the next 6 months.
Yeah, and no one can touch you for that period of time. Until you pick last in the draft. In the first round, I mean.
Speaking of...
Belichick will probably trade that anyway.
Speaking of drafts, couple stats from the game that I just want to get out quick. One, the Patriots are the youngest team to ever win the Super Bowl, which is surprising. You think of them as an older team with Brady and Will Fork. Two, when Michael Bennett was causing all that havoc in the third quarter, I was like, man, when was this guy drafted? And can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, sorry. I was wondering when he was drafted, so I looked him up on Wikipedia. Undrafted. Never been drafted. I think this Super Bowl had the most undrafted players there were, if I remember that correctly. And also, that's the thing on Butler. He wasn't. If Arrington plays okay, he's never coming in the game. But Arrington kept on getting torched by Chris Matthews, and so they took him out. So the fact that Butler even played that game in that play was a fact of Chris Matthews having so much success against him early on. And then you also have, for the winning score, the 199th drafted player throwing to the 234th drafted player for the winning score. So that's also interesting to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that a lot of the, like, you can go to the draft to make a lot of easy decisions. I think you can go in and say like, oh, I have the 10th pick. This is a good choice and everything like that. I think that when it comes to winning and succeeding and keeping things going and still having a very good team after being on top for a long time, you have to look at other places. You have to look where there's less value or people see less value. And sometimes it's taking the Kent State Golden Flash's quarterback as a wide receiver and kick returner. Sometimes you do that.
Ooh,
and that's what sets you apart. That's what sets you apart, man. That's what does it.
It's about finding guys to fit the system rather than finding the best player.
Yeah. Alex, actually, one last thing. I just want you to talk about the sound effects, the NFL's mic'd up thing they put out. I think it was actually released on YouTube as well that the Patriots did. I just want to just give your endorsement for that, or tell people why they should listen to that.
Yeah, I mean,
beautiful.
We might have all seen sound effects, and they kind of do it for different players. Or they do it through the week, but the way that the NFL handles their filming is incredible in terms of NFL films. No other league has this in this capacity that Steve Sable and his father created back in the 60s and 70s. And their ability to mic up the players and kind of capture those moments is absolutely unparalleled. Like the NHL has it in 24/7, but that's done by HBO. No other league is even close to matching what the NFL does within their own thing. They mic up, the two coaches, the quarterbacks. Edelman was mic'd up. A couple other guys are mic'd up, like the ref and things like that. And just rewatching the Super Bowl through the hour-long FX sound effects special is an absolutely immersive and kind of incredible experience. It kind of completely changes the way you see the game and builds stories as you go. Like there's small things that happen here and here. We're going, okay, that's going to affect something down the road, and just the way they talk to each other. And the way you see the communication go throughout the game, the pure joy on the Pats' end when they actually win the game of Brady and McDaniels like hugging each other, and they're all screaming, and Chandler Jones is just sprinting down the field, screaming with pure joy, and just the ability to see how that game is built and kind of see the stories within the game. And another thing they do better than, say, watching it with Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels is they kind of have to be a bit bipartial. The NFL, what they do when they do the sound effects is they filter in the actual Homer radio stations, so the reactions are a lot stronger in terms of the calls and everything like that. So you get Scott Solak on the Patriots end, and I don't know the radio guys for the Seahawks end, but you kind of get the more emotion in it as well. So just in terms of what the NFL does. And it's good for us because the Patriots won, so Matt and I are pumped. But there's tons of great stuff out there. Like I'm sure we'll have seen Raven stuff mic'd up and sound effects where you can see like what happens during the Super Bowl when they won 2 years ago. But it's just second to none. And if you can check it out, definitely do because it's incredible.
Well, there's this special called America's Team, and the last when I flew in December the last couple years, I watched one on the Packers and one on the Giants, and then the next year I flew with WestJet, so I didn't get like the little thing from Air Canada. It's always about the Super Bowl winners, yeah. So the year the Ravens won, I actually didn't get. I didn't get to see the Ravens, and then this year's they didn't even have that. They had Australian ice hockey is what they have, which I thought was really. I thought that was going to be a documentary about like, look at how weird Australian ice hockey is, but it was actually just games. It was just ice hockey games. Like, all right, here we are, the semifinals here, the Melbourne Ice Palace. So that was interesting to watch Australian hockey commentators. But and they had such a tiny. It was like Cole Harbour Place sized arena, and it's like, here's the capital of hockey here in Australia. It's like, wow, that sounds about right. That would be the mecca of hockey, apparently, for you guys. Watch some crappy Australian hockey players who wash out of rugby and have these, Australian commentators be like, all right, you really got a lift on the, what do you call that? The puck there. By the way, speaking of hockey, I just got to give a shout out to the Canucks. Saturday night beat the Penguins 5-0. So way to get some goals going, guys.
Yes, they did.
R. Miller with the shutout on Jeff Merrick in his pregame preview. It's like Sidney Crosby travels to the Rogers Arena where he has never scored on Ryan Miller. And of course, they show the picture of the golden goal from the Olympics in 2010.
Medal winning goal. Yeah.
And what's funny is actually after the Super Bowl, I'm like, oh man, there's going to be no sports for like the next couple of months. I'm like, oh yeah, hockey. God, I forgot about that. Hockey and basketball is going on. When was the All-Star game for that anyway? Is it coming up for the NBA?
This weekend.
This weekend? I don't know.
Yeah. It's always right around when Valentine's Day is.
All right. Oh, I was right. Okay.
I just have to say that football has kind of ruined other sports for me as a fan, because football is the easiest and best sport to be a fan of. It is so easy to watch every game and to get your fill of it. And now, like, I love hockey, but at the same time, like, that's a huge commitment to, like, even watch like a game a week. Well, they're playing for much longer than football is, and like, I don't know. It just, the games don't mean as much, but they're just as long. It seems like, I don't know. It just
they don't mean as much until
they
don't mean as much until they get into the stretch.
Yes.
And if you don't,
even then, even with the playoffs, though, like,
yeah,
there's times in the playoffs where I'm like, I kind of just want my team to lose because I don't want to watch 2 more periods of overtime. I just feel like they're not going to win this game anyway.
Yeah.
So let's just move on now.
It's like that first round, with 16 teams feels like it can go forever. Although I do wish the finals were longer. I remember a couple years ago when it was 2010 when the Blackhawks beat the Flyers in overtime. I was like, I kind of wanted the game to go longer. I was like, oh man, I just wanted to see more of that. But then Patrick Kane scored that goal. Everybody was like, did he actually score? We don't know what happened. Nobody really knew what happened on the ice, but Patrick Kane knew that he won the Stanley Cup. That was a bit of an awkward play. Yeah, I mean, hockey too. If I guess if you don't have a horse in the race, it's a little like, well, I can't really care about 30 teams equally. There's teams you like more and teams you like less, and whatever happens. But yeah, Matt, I see where you're coming from. Football, it's like a day a week. It's like Sunday's the day with a smattering of Mondays and Thursdays in there. But Sunday's the day. And you can really just kind of plop yourself in the TV and watch, whatever game's on. For you guys, it'll be, a Patriots game all the time. And for me, occasionally I get lucky and I can see a Ravens game. But, they got the game and like during, they take a break to show you, scores and highlights and all that stuff and halftime. And it's just easier when it's one day on Sunday and your team plays 16 games a season, and hopefully more if they make it
halftime
to the playoffs. Like the Ravens got to play 18 games.
The second intermission in hockey is the worst thing ever. You're like, oh my god! Like at one halftime in hockey, in football, is less than like the one break is less than like it's 15 minutes, and in hockey it's like 20. So the one break in football is a third of what the actual two breaks are in hockey. It's just so long.
Yeah, I think the other thing with football too, even if you look at something like you look at the draft, like in football, like there are going to be lots of people who come out of the first and second round of the NFL draft this year, and you can get slotted in a little easier than hockey. Like even if you have like, oh, that's a really good defensive prospect, like. Good luck seeing that guy in less than 5 years on your team. Like, even if it's like a good forward, it's like, yeah, it'll be forever until that actually pays off.
Yeah,
yeah.
As a fan, it's like, yeah, you can get invested in it, and like sometimes it's okay. Like the Oilers is different because they have first overall picks, of course, but like the deeper you get into the draft, like how excited can you really be about whoever the Pittsburgh Penguins pick with the 30th pick in the NHL draft this year? I'm being optimistic. If you know you're not going to see him before like 2019.
Bill Burr bit and his latest special. What's his latest special called? Doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, about the draft. Yeah.
I'm telling you,
it's
for the last
called. I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah, and he's talking about Michael Sam. Yeah,
No,
I'm sorry you feel that way. Yeah. Michael Sam kissing his boyfriend and stuff like that, and people getting upset about it. He's like, you know what? That's what you get for watching the draft. You need to watch 7 rounds. The names are in the paper tomorrow. Great to be part of this organization. Great to thank my college coach and God and the same thing the other 90 guys before me said.
He's totally right. No. And it's funny that Bill's a massive sports fan too. So it's funny that he's saying that. And one more thing about the hockey football connection. Gronk at the Bruins Habs game yesterday.
Oh, I love that.
Spiked the puck. Did the ceremonial puck spike. So everybody in Boston must have gone wicked crazy for that. And I listened to Bill's Monday morning podcast, and he was in New Zealand at the time of the Super Bowl.
He's traveling.
Didn't see the game. So, he's traveling. So this lifelong Patriots fan misses the game. So he's like, yeah, I wish I could talk about the Super Bowl, but all I know is the score, and man, I can't believe I missed that game. So we both had the same reaction. We really didn't talk about the Super Bowl right after it happened. That's our connection with That's our connection with Mr. Burr. But yeah, it's weird that we have that in common. Millions of listeners, and we also didn't talk about the Super Bowl. So there you go. And but we can react. We can react to all the Grammy winners. Congratulations, Iggy Azalea.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh God, I hope not. But what do I know? I think Jebediah Atkinson.
I don't care. The Grammys are the awards I care about
properly.
They're so terrible.
The least. Do you like the Emmys more than the
I don't
Grammys?
even like the friggin' People's Choice Awards or the Blockbuster Video Awards. So I regretted that as soon as I said it. The point is, I don't care.
I miss. Yeah, the Oscars is the only one that I really care about. Even things like the Golden Globes, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty firmly second rate. Like it's the B team of award shows, and who cares, right?
Yeah.
Somebody watch the AHL All-Star game.
I was going through past Oscar winners with somebody at work. We're trying to just recall them, and I was like, 2010. What was 2010? And I remember in 2010, it was when the Oscars took place. I was flying to Toronto, and when I landed, I checked my phone and looked at all the winners in the 2010 Oscars. And Hurt Locker won Best Picture that year. And somebody at work was like,
the King's Speech?
Avatar won Best Picture that year. I was like, Hurt Locker was 2010. King's Speech was 2011. I think.
Doesn't matter.
God dang it! I had it in my head, but no, they were trying to tell me that Avatar won Best Picture at the Oscars. I was like, no, I don't think it.
No, it really
did not.
It won Best Picture at the Golden Globes. it won Best Picture of the Golden Globes, but it didn't win.
Nobody cares.
Best Picture of the Oscars. Well, the Golden Globes, from what I understand, is the party everybody in Hollywood likes to go to because you can just kind of it's looser. Everyone's just kind of sitting in the room. It's Hollywood foreign press. You can drink. I think that's probably the big thing. Whereas the Oscars, you got to sit in the big, whatever Kodak Theater or Sony Theater or whatever they call it now, and it's a lot more formal and it's 17 hours long. It's a long show. But again, I've been doing my best to watch all the Best Picture nominees this year, all 8 of them. Matt, we watched one this past week, not together, but we did watch a film that I guess I'll use the word controversy, a little controversy. That oh my gosh, I'm going to say her name wrong. Ava DuVernay. Yeah, that sounds about right. Wasn't nominated.
Yeah, you're pretty close.
Yeah,
right.
for a Best Director nod for this. But the movie Selma, and I enjoyed the movie Selma. Matt, you agreed with me? You enjoyed the film?
I did. I really enjoyed the movie. Something I was talking with a coworker about this week is you go into a movie like Selma knowing it is a movie based on history, knowing it's about a character, about a person being portrayed as a character that you hold in pretty high regard. I don't think anybody thinks little of Martin Luther King Jr. And so I'm watching the movie thinking, in my head, I don't really think of Martin Luther King Jr. really as like a real living, breathing person with opinions and foods he didn't like, as a real person, I guess. And for the movie to kind of depict him as, somebody who is undoubtedly extraordinary, but still very real, still a person who had doubts and fears,
flaws,
and friends and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
flaws, yeah. And it was remarkably done because I go into the movie hoping that David Oyelowo will show me a side of Martin Luther King Jr. that I wouldn't have thought about before, and he absolutely did. I think he did a fantastic job. I think he did a very good job. I think Ava DuVernay generally did a good job with the directing of the movie. I think that there's one thing in the movie I didn't like, and it's something that is generally true to a lot of other movies. It's when someone is about to say something, and the audience is like, "Ooh, what are they going to say?" And in this movie, it happens in other movies too. During the pause between the person saying it, there's a character who lean forward to yes, what's this person going to say? And that kind of lean forward is okay, movie, I know you want me to be extra excited about this, but it was too you're putting it too much on the nose there.
Little
I don't know if
little heavy
moment or not.
Well, I didn't really notice that.
Yeah.
But I kind of see where you're coming from, where they want to have it. As an audience, you're like, I can see you want it to have an impact, and it's going to if you just let it. If you just kind of just let me sit here and watch it, and don't try to lead me that much. It was cool because it showed a human side of Martin Luther King Jr. that we don't always see or hear about. It showed him as a character with flaws, and not everybody agreed with him all the time. And, he had to work through that, and really, he had to really hold his position on nonviolence and really, adhere to that. It's another thing I thought was cool about it is that it really, if you think it's a biopic, it's really not a biopic. It doesn't follow him from birth to the end of his life.
And that's okay.
And that's cool. That's the cool thing I thought about it. I mean, it's called Selma because everything in the film deals with him in Selma, Alabama, and getting black people the right to vote. And I will say that I got to go back to SNL again last year when they did the casting sessions for 12 Years a Slave, where they have the white actor in the room and the black cast directors are just like, so just say whatever you want, just improv with her. No, I think I want to say the words on the page. I think they're very strong, and I'll just stick to that. Thank you very much. It was like it was interesting for the white actors like Tom Wilkinson and at least Giovanni Ribisi kind of got to be a good guy. Tim Roth just went off the deep end in a way. Stephen Root I was surprised by too. I was like, oh, Stephen Root, you're a bad guy.
Yeah, that was very surprising. Tim Roth as George Wallace. I think he kind of toned it down a bit because George Wallace in history is like
really
kind of ridiculous figure to look at and be like, oh, that guy, he's really really over the top. It kind of reminded me of when George Clooney did Good Night and Good Luck with Senator McCarthy. They didn't have any actors Senator McCarthy. They just showed footage of him, and people thought like, oh, that actor's putting it on like a bit strong. That's what Tessa Tautensi said.
It's like, no,
the real
it's
thing.
actually,
So you have to be
actual
aware
guy.
of that. Yeah, to be aware of those situations. And one thing I'll especially throw out to the movie is I think they did a good job, and this is a minor detail, but movies have to get it right. When you do historical movies, especially with characters who actually are very well known visibly, is to get the casting right and make people look like them. David Oyelowo looked like Martin Luther King Jr. Wilkinson looked enough like LBJ. I thought the guy who played Malcolm X looked as if Malcolm X just walked into the movie, which I thought was impressive.
Crazy.
And because when it doesn't happen, when you're Morgan Freeman as Nelson Mandela in that movie about rugby a couple years ago, I don't remember what it was called. You guys probably do.
Invictus.
Unbeaten,
Invictus.
Unbreakable, Gold. Invictus, thank you. Yeah, it was like, I was like, I know you're Nelson Mandela. I know you're telling me you're Nelson Mandela, but you look like the exact same as Morgan Freeman.
Do you know why he played him,
I think
though?
there was a movie that... why? Tell me.
Yeah, Nelson Mandela requested it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would also request that, so good call, Mandela.
Yeah.
I think Jack Nicholson played Nixon for Oliver Stone 25 years ago. I don't know if I'm getting that right or not, but
I think that was Anthony
no,
Hopkins.
No, yeah, yes, it was.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I don't know why. Oh, I'm thinking of the movie Hoffa. Yeah. Anyway, Anthony Hopkins does not look like Richard Nixon at all.
No.
And it's enough to put me off from watching that movie because just like I'm not gonna be able to imagine him in that movie.
I forgot
It's
who.
just ridiculous.
Well, it's weird, like Josh
problem
Brolin
with that.
playing George
I forgot
W.
who played
Bush.
J. Edgar Hoover and.
Yeah.
I forgot who played J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh,
in
what's his
Selma.
name? He was
I'm looking at it.
he was Peter Parker's
Dylan Baker. Yeah.
science teacher in the first. Thank you. Yeah,
Dylan
he doesn't
Baker.
really look like him either. Not like Leonardo DiCaprio did either.
No,
for that
that's
matter.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Billy Crudup played him in Public Enemies. I think, and he did a good job with him. But maybe I'm thinking Billy Crudup played somebody else.
I think he
I
played.
think
No,
he
I think
might
you're
have
right.
played
No, I'm not
somebody
sure.
else.
Public Enemies had him in it. Yeah.
I can't remember. One thing I did find a little, and this kind of goes to like people who are like stars, like Nelson Mandela. Pardon me, Morgan Freeman's like a movie star who has to fit into the role of Nelson Mandela. Where they have a movie called Mandela: Long Walk to Freedom. Was it? And who played Mandela in that one? Was it?
Elba.
It was Idris. Yeah. Okay.
Idris
Yeah.
Elba.
So
Yeah.
he's not as much as a star. I mean, he's certainly accomplished. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he's big in England with his series and all that.
Yeah.
But you have a movie star kind of shoehorned into playing a historical figure like Leo and J. Edgar. Obviously he's under a lot of prosthetic and all that kind of thing. Just because you have to. But I did find in Selma, and I know it's her flick, but I did find Oprah a little bit distracting. Just.
I thought it was okay, but I understand.
She did a fine job, and I'm just like, it kind of takes me out of the movie a little bit because it's like
That's Oprah.
Oprah.
Yeah.
Like I know she's acted and stuff, and it's like there's Harpo, and also I could have sworn I saw Bobby Lashley walking in one of the crowd scenes, but I didn't see any credit for him on IMDb. But when they're walking across the bridge, I thought I saw him in that. But the hard hitting stuff hits hard, and then it really brings it back. But it also is maybe, and this isn't a spoiler, but it's the third of the Oscar nominated films I've seen this year where at the end of the movie there's a little blurb at the end. It's like, and then he died a little while after this. Like, oh, okay. The third one,
Oh, really?
I just think that's.
Oh, that's right. Just like Imitation Game is similar. That's right.
Yeah,
And
it
then
just
he
pops
died.
up at the end. And there's another movie too that does it. Yeah, and it's like, and then he died a little while later, which I kind of do. Gosh, I can't say like, because actually all three
Theory of
movies
Everything?
that
You're just,
said
wait a
that were
minute.
based on real guys. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that. I was like, wait, Theory of Everything will not have that, which is good.
He's still with us.
Anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, I'm trying to take in as many movies as I can, catching up over the last couple of years. I watched Captain Phillips and Silver Linings Playbook the other day.
Captain Phillips, man.
Oh, that last scene was rough. Like, I know it's intense, but when he's rescued was like the worst thing for me. Yeah, I got like I got kind of a little overwhelmed watching it. I was just like, oh my god.
When he's being checked by that doctor at the end, I was losing it, man. I really was losing it because Tom.
And I'm fairly sure she's not an actress.
The number one.
No.
Great. Because she seemed like she'd have to be a real doctor or something to be able to
she's
like
actually like an army medic
like,
or whatever, a Navy medic. Yeah.
Sure. So she's got to deal with that stuff all the time because I'm actually not sure a real actor can be like, wow, I'm sharing this scene with Tom Hanks where he's like really, I'm getting misty just thinking about it. And it's an acting performance, man. Like that's the power of Tom. But like Tom is like, he's kind of like everybody's dad in a way. He's like, you're just like, oh, I just want Tom to be okay. And then when he's hurting that much, you really, really feel it. He's got so much, I want to say pathos, I suppose. Thanks, Greeks. But that's what I want to say. Yeah, man, that last scene in Captain Phillips was really something else. That whole movie was pretty was a wild time. Paul Greengrass, what a director.
Well, it's just funny. It's when he's
I do
no
like
longer
Greengrass.
under that. Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, it's just when the pirates are gone, everything's fine. He's rescued, and somehow that's the by far most intense scene of the entire movie is when he's fine, and it all kind of like comes at him at once, and you're just like, it's very overwhelming, but very well done. And it's just like kind of takes you by surprise. You're like, oh, he's good, and then he's getting checked, and you're like, he is not good. And it's just such a good performance.
Well,
right?
he's not because. It's an amazing performance, but he's let everything that he had held in to be brave when the pirates have him. You know, everything he held in through that whole experience is coming out, and it's god, that's just so good.
That movie does a very good job with the words on the screen at the end too, with especially like, and a year later he went back to sea, because you're like, wow, that's almost more of a gut punch than if he died, because, or you know, when they say people died in other movies, it's like, wow, that guy went back to the sea knowing that could happen again, like after all that. That's crazy.
That's guts, man. I tell you, that's guts, glory, ram right there.
I think I think this is just about it for us, though, guys.
No,
I think we've made it. We've made it to the promised land.
We got to stop saying.
Can I mention one thing?
We got to stop saying that at the end of the podcast.
Please.
Yes, please.
Well, just about UFC 183, which we talked about a bit last week, and I'll try and make this. Yeah. What?
Oh yeah, Buddy tested for something.
They both tested positive.
About that? He tested positive. Oh, geez.
No, we talked because it was the day after. It was the Monday after the fight. So the fight was Saturday, then on Monday, and now I think midway through the week it happened. So what actually happened is Anderson Silva tested positive for two different types of steroids or steroid metabolites, which are what they test for. And Nick Diaz ended up testing positive for marijuana, but also testing positive for a steroid as well. So it looks like that whole fight is going to be declared a no contest, which is not good for Silva because he's 38, 39 years old. He'll probably be suspended for a year or more, so that will probably derail his career. I think Diaz's is basically already going down the tubes as it is if he's suspended again. The more interesting thing about it is Silva got tested on January 9th, and the fight was on February either January 31st or February 1st. I can't remember. Not looking at a calendar.
January 30th.
And the results of the test
January
weren't available
31st,
until February. Yeah, so February 4th is when they got the test results from the January 9th test. So it took 3.5 to 4 weeks for them to get the results, which should never, ever, ever happen because it completely defeats the purpose of out-of-contest testing. And just the fact that he had tested positive for it, I don't know, like there was some sort of issue at the lab or whatever. But anyway, having talked about UFC 183 last week, we can now report that, as you probably already know, both fighters from the main event tested positive for marijuana and steroids. and should have probably never fought in the first place, given when the positive test was actually given, and compared to when the results actually came out. So it was a real mess of a thing there. So it was just kind of a last minute thing there on that.
Come on, UFC guys, what are you doing?
They got huge issues right now with
it doesn't look good
PEDs
for the organization.
and injured fighters and stuff like that. So they really got to clamp down on it. And the problem is too, they go by state athletic commissions. They can't really come up with their own policies to a point, whereas the NFL and NHL and stuff can. Not to say that they can't, they just aren't right now. And I think they got to take it off the athletic commission's shoulders and start really cracking down on these guys.
Yeah, I think WWE has the same thing where they that's why Vince went to trial and is like, no, it's sports entertainment. It's not a sport. We can do whatever we want because we're not sanctioned by the sport, the athletic commission or whatever you call it. Anyway, but that's a good add on there, Alex, because that doesn't look good for the UFC. I can tell you one guy who I'll tell you one guy who probably won't test positive for anything unless he changes his lifestyle. Is Mr. CM Punk, and he's straight edge, so I don't know if he's going to take anything. Guys, it was a good one this week. So I'm going to give my Twitter account, and then when I say when I point to you, no, when I say your name, then you say yours. So I'm William Vaughn. I'm on Twitter at William C. Vaughn. Alex is at Twitter at
Evaunics, EVAUGHANICS.
Yes, good. And Matt, you're on Twitter at
MP Vaughn. Letter M, letter P, last name Vaughn.
EMPEEVAUGHAN.
Give us, send us a tweet. We like to hear from you. we like to hear from you.
Love
guys.
hearing from you.
And
it's my favorite thing in the world.
Suggestions, comments, rants, raves, reviews. Let us know. We like hearing from you. Next week, we'll talk about the, slam dunk contest. Hopefully it goes well.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's about right. Yeah. We just wanted to give you pauses here so you can check your phones.
Check you later,
So
fools.
they were all intentional. Check you later. Bye.
Bye.